Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame LLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And today is April 1st. I'm giving you the March library update. These are all of the games that entered the library last month, and I'm excited to share them with you and give you an idea of what new things that the library has to offer. All that being said, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please make sure that you do. It is the best way to help us grow. Let's talk about everything that entered the library in March. The first section are upgrades and promos, starting off with the Kopana metal dice. These are actually sent to me for free by the Kopana company. They wanted us to take a look at them, show them off, and say, hey, these are going to be dice that you can use to upgrade your games, and we're going to put them into one of the games in our library. But I'm having trouble with this. I'm not exactly sure where in our library we can fit a set of metal dice. They're nice. They're metal dice. Of course they're going to be nice. But I'm curious as to what game actually uses all of these role-playing dice. If you have any ideas, please let me know down in the comments below where would be a good home for these. Now's a great time to talk about free items that we get in the SideGame library. Now, only 2 companies so far have actually sent us free things, and that's been Kopana here with these metal dice, as we talked about earlier, and Hyperlixir. That's David Go's company that is currently running Mercurial on Kickstarter, and he is sending us a free copy of the Kickstarter edition of the game. Now, if you have seen my review for Hyperlixir, I am very much upfront, straightforward, and critical with my review of that game. I want to make sure that I'm doing my service to the people watching this channel, as well as to the company. I think David Go is an incredible designer with the way that he not only creates a game that he is excited for and wants to build, but also the way that he receives feedback and he listens to that feedback. It helps no one if I am not critical on the games, and I want to make sure that you as my audience, as well as all designers out there, publishers, etc., who are wanting to send games, know going forward in the future. If a company wants to send us something for our library, fantastic. We'll implement it. We'll make sure that it gets played. But if it's not going to be a good fit for us, we are going to let people know. It's going to hit one of those games that we cold videos. Anytime we do receive any free content, I will make sure to let you know. That's how we obtained it. Otherwise, everything that you see that we cover on the channel has been paid for using the profits and the funds from the SideGame LLC. I'm doing the best I can to make sure that our company does well, and that means staying up to date, making sure our library is awesome, and we're getting people playing some excellent games. So just wanted to briefly touch on that before we get into the rest of our library update. Our next upgrade is the metal doubloon coins for Libertalia, Winds of Galecrest, and these are from Stonemaier Games' web store. And I think that these are actually amazing. I'm really considering buying another set for another game, actually Terra Mystica, because I really like the denominations. 1, 3s, and 5s are just really, really good. It's easy to make change, and they feel great. They're nice and chunky. Really like these coins. Up next, we have the Thunderworks games. These are the upgrades for a lockup. As you'll see later on the list, the Kickstarter finally delivered, and we went ahead and got the nice plastic tiles instead of the cardboard ones. This is great because nothing is going to get dinged and dented, and that means all of these tiles are going to remain hidden. And then we also have all of the promos that came with Dead Reckoning, as we'll talk about later. This is really neat. It has a bunch of AEG games. We've got a Santa Monica promo, some space-based promos, Tiny Towns, Cat Ladies, Smash Up. Some of these games we don't have in our library anymore, so we'll make sure to find those good homes. But other than that, super excited. More space-based is always good. And then excited for that Tiny Towns promo. Another tavern. How fun. Pirate's Den. And that brings us to the new arrivals, all the board games and expansions that have entered the library, starting off with Clash of Decks. This is a head-to-head card battling game. Also has a great solo mode, and the solo mode features this great drafting system. Now, I have not played the 2-player game yet, and I'm very excited to because I really like the system that this game employs. You build a hand of 8 cards, and then you play the game with that hand of 8. Your mana is equal to the number of cards in your hand, and you're summoning creatures based on where they are in your hand. Every time they're attacked, they get put onto the right side, but if you ever take damage, you have this card in your hand that moves around. If it gets to the right, it gets flipped, and if it gets to the right again, it gets destroyed. Great system, and I'm really excited to try this 2-player, but I am enjoying the solo mode for a quick drafting experience. Up next, we have Summit the board game, very popular because of the Trey Parker video on the Dice Tower, and I'm not going to pretend that's not why we gave it a try. And it is quite fun. I think the cooperative mode here is a lot of fun. I don't think the solo mode is worth it at all, but the cooperative is great. It's got quick turns, fun storytelling, great decisions right from the very beginning of the game, from the setup, and I love how the different items, the events work. It makes for a great experience. So easy to play cooperative game that's a lot of fun because of the scoring in it. Next, we have Libertalia Winds of Galecrest, staying in the library because I think it works great with children. It has limited options with the way that you're going to be playing cards each turn, but that makes it very consumable for players. It also plays a lot of people very well, and I think that the reputation system works well for breaking ties. It's very clean. There's no confusion as to who is going to go first, and I think that the effects and the way they resolve is very, very clear. So a great game for kids and for high amounts of kids. That's Libertalia Winds of Galecrest. Up next, we have Lockup Breakout. This is the new expansion that adds a new catacomb board, as well as an extra character. Every round, you're going to be saving one person, and that person is going to go onto a hero and grant you an additional effect. This entices some of the different locations on the board because they actually have the entrances to the catacombs, and then it adds a lot of cool new powers and abilities with those hero cards. So just more incentive and more clever, crafty plays. Lockup Breakout. Next is Aeon's End Legacy of Gravehold. Playing this with my wife Ariana, and we're having a great time. We've gone through 2 games so far, unlocking a lot of characters. There's some really fun legacy elements. No spoilers here, but it's that legacy deck builder, and you've got a great enemy from the get-go. So great experiences here, cool choices. It is a legacy game, so be aware of that. Up next, we have Legendary Marvel, the Doctor Strange and the Shadow of Nightmare. This introduces a lot of new cards in the form of these artifacts. You play them, you can activate them when you meet a certain condition, and then they're discarded. So cool ways to set up for these big, powerful turns, and there's also this new astral plane that allows you to send enemies there. It's like its own little city space that has a single spot in it. Next, we have El Grande. I was able to get a copy of this. Shout out to my favorite game store in Omaha, Nebraska. This is Game Shop. They had a copy of this. I'm telling you, they always have the out-of-print stuff when I'm looking for it, and El Grande Big Box was one that they had. It's a shame that this won't get reprinted because the Big Box didn't sell very well, but wow, this game is awesome. I really enjoy it. I'm so happy we got a copy. It is so easy to teach, so much fun, and I love that there's hidden information, but also non-hidden information. So you can calculate some things, but a lot of this is based on the players, and I love how there's always that uncertainty, and I think that's really what puts it a bit higher for me. There's not a lot of randomness, but there is great tension in the way that the different actions unfold and how you're going to be chasing down the players who have different points and the shifting of those victory points throughout the game. A lot of close, tense matches. El Grande, amazing game. Next is Dead Reckoning. This has you playing as pirates in a card crafting system. This is the hotness right now, and for good reason. It's a lot of fun. Now, so far I've played 2 solo games, and then I've played 2 multiplayer games, and the multiplayer games have been good. I really like the cadence of the game. However, if one person does get stuck on their turn, it does bring that game to a screeching halt. This is a 4X game that has a lot of decisions and a lot of points that you can make, and it has great choices in your upgrades, but that means that somebody can take a while. The solo mode is very clean and very smooth. However, in that solo mode, I do think it's missing that tension that comes from the crazy combat and antics that can come from that 4X nature of interacting with other players. We also have implemented the Saga expansions for Dead Reckoning, and they've been pretty fun. The storytelling is about the same level as something like Maracaibo, where it doesn't completely screech the game to a halt, which I really appreciate. It does keep that tempo and that pace of the game going, but it does offer some really neat features, places to explore, new items, new relics. I think this is really neat. So I think that if you are playing Dead Reckoning, seriously, just include that Saga expansion from the first game. I think it's definitely worth it to start playing with it right away. But a great game. I love the level up system. This is a lot of fun. I'm enjoying Dead Reckoning. Up next is Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. This has you playing a slapjack style game where you're saying the names of cards, and I think it does a great job with 2 big things. The first thing I really like is the pacing of the game. You are penalized if you do not keep up good pacing. You have to say Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. If you're off, you have to take the pile. So it encourages players to actually get playing, which is good. The other thing I really enjoy about the game are the special cards. Normally, you have to slap the middle of the deck when Taco and Taco show up at the same time. Someone says Taco and they play Taco, so on and so forth. But if you get a special card, you got the Gorilla, the Narwhal, and then the Groundhog. And I really like these because of the way they move your hands. They have you pulling your hands away from the table. The Narwhal has you putting them up here. The Gorilla has you here, and then the Groundhog has you here. They're all different spots, and they actually take some time to reach. If you move to the wrong one, you're going to feel it. And it's such a great way to include this movement in this game. I think it's a great change of the pace, and I think that that action is hilarious. We did this Narwhal thing today, and go like this, and kind of dove into the middle. Amazing. I think this is a great slapjack style game. Not my favorite in the genre, but I do think it's quite fun, and it is one that I would recommend. We've got Ginkgopolis, the experts. It adds a lot of new content in the form of 5 modules for the game. You've got the expert cards, which is the namesake, which are amazing. Think amazing powers, but then ramp it up to times 10. You get to totally break the rules of the game, and I think that's awesome because everybody gets some game-breaking effect that works in some facet of the game. Definitely worth giving a try, the experts, but you also have a lot of abilities in the form of events, and then additional level 2 and level 3 building tiles, which get you these really strong tentpoles of area control in the game. Cool effects here in the form of the experts, and then very interesting tiles when it comes to the events, as well as the level 2 and 3 building tiles. Up next, we have Canvas, and Canvas Reflections are coming up next. And Canvas is such an interesting game to me because it really depends on who you are playing with. If you are playing to win Canvas, there is so much AP in this game. It is crazy because every single card you add to your hand has so many different combinations of what other cards that it can go with because things go on top of each other. It uses these transparencies, and the symbols will actually be played on top of each other, and you're trying to satisfy 4 scoring conditions at the same time. So if you decide to layer something a specific way, that can change entirely if you move one single transparency and put it to the back. So this can cause a lot of AP if you're playing with someone who actually really wants to win, because you can calculate it out and try to make the perfect painting. And this really does bog down the speed of play. But if you are playing with people who are just out here to have fun and make fun art, then it is going to be a breezy, nice experience. And the other thing is the Canvas Reflections expansion. This adds a couple of new things in the form of new ways to score in these gold ribbons, but also with cards that flip, hence the Reflections name. And the way the Reflections work is a card will have 2 symbols, as you can see here, and the card itself actually flips over and they become different colors. And that just adds to that layer of AP that I mentioned before, and I think that's kind of crazy. And it also increases the choices that you have because it adds a whole nother row of cards. So there's 8 cards to pick from instead of the, I think it was 4 or 5 in that base game. So play at your own risk and know who you're going to be playing this game with. I think the game is beautiful. The turns can be quick, but if there's AP in this game, there's going to be AP in this game. It's bound to happen. So just be aware of that when you are playing Canvas. But beautiful game, and I have a lot of fun playing it. Up next is Phantom Inc., a party game that its only limiting factor is I think it works best with 4 players and 4 players only. But wow, does this game just click, work. It's a word game where you are communicating with a ghost and you're giving them questions and prompts and you are trying to guess words a single letter at a time. They're going to reveal their answers and you tell them to stop when you think you have enough information, and then you do the same thing. You give an answer 1 letter at a time. Both players are trying to guess the same words, so you're looking at what the other person is doing as well, and your brain is working and trying to wrap your head around these different prompts and trying to guess, and all of a sudden you'll have that epiphany moment, that aha moment, and everything will come together, and then once the word is found out, you go back and try to guess out what the other clues are. This game has amazing presence, amazing storytelling in the form of these words coming out, and it's got this great arc that the game plays through. Oh, this is a fantastic party game. This is Phantom Inc. Up next is Welcome to the Moon, a new campaign version of Welcome to the Moon that can also be played in adventure mode, where you don't actually have to play in a campaign. You just pick up map and then play the adventure that you want to do. But it comes with a whole deck of hidden cards, a great solo AI that allows you to play all of the missions on your own, and then it also has a great overarching story. All of the missions can be linked, and I think it's done well. It's got a great progression. So far, I'm only through that first mission, but each of those boards is going to change up the way that you play. Now, no spoilers here. That first mission does actually remove a lot of the core concepts from the original Welcome to game and does simplify it quite a bit, but does it in a cool and refreshing way. I'll let you explore the game, and if this is something you're interested in, if you like Welcome to, I would recommend giving this one a try. It's a great twist on the system. If you wanted more Concordia, you've got it. This allows you to play solo and cooperative modes of the game, but it gives you that same Concordia feel. I've only played the solo mode of this so far, but I think it does a great job of implementing the system and letting you explore the mechanisms of the game. Now, the way it works is on your turn, you play a card just like normal, do the effects of the card, but then the enemy is going to get a reaction. Generally, they'll roll a die and it'll allow them to build or move colonists or follow you or gain new cards and then put them in front of their own area. It offers a great, interesting puzzle because everything is up to you. You play the card, you determine the reaction, but the randomness comes from the die and where they're actually going to build based on the choices that you've made. I love this form of controlled randomness, and I think it's really well done here. I'm excited to try the cooperative mode, and I'm just really impressed with the way that they've taken all of the action cards, turned them into these Solitaria versions, and they've retained the entire feeling and experience of Concordia down to the T. This is a great solo expansion, and I'm excited to try out that cooperative mode. And then our last expansion is for Kingdom Death Monster. This is the Grimorry. It's a new model that comes with these 2 new weapons. You've got these Gusk knives, which is great. New daggers. I love when daggers and other weapons get additional support because I just find it really interesting to dive into the different types of weapon classes. So this is the Grimorry. Very interesting items here, being paired, being able to block with daggers. Got some great choices here with the Gusk knife. Up next, we have all of our pre-orders for our games. These can be straight from the publishers, or they can be from Kickstarter, GameFound, etc. Excited to talk about all of these, and excited for when they finally arrive. Up first, we have 51st State Ultimate Edition. This is a version of the Imperial Settlers Empires of the North system that I really enjoy, and this version comes with everything, as well as an exclusive new expansion, which adds some area control content. It's got a great theme, and it's built on a pre-existing awesome system that I really enjoy. I'm excited to see how this one plays out. Up next is Detective, a modern crime board game's newest installment, Everybody Lies, the Batman version of Detective. And oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this. It's a theme I love, an IP I love, and a world that I'm really excited to be engrossed in, but I have some apprehensions about this because the Dune version of Detective really bombed for me. I'm hoping this one does a great job with it. It looks like there's a lot of paper components, lots of different decks of cards, and it looks like they're bringing back the map for Gotham. I'm excited to see how they implement in this game. I'm always willing to give games a try, and I hope that Everybody Lies shows me that Detective is coming back and they're able to do this theme justice. I'm so excited for this. Oh, it looks amazing. So really excited to play some Batman Detective. Up next is Motor City, the roll and write game from the same designers of Three Sisters and Fleet the Dice game. And I want to be straight up with you. I'm getting this based solely on those other 2 designers because I just love those games so much. Something you might not know about me is I actually do dog breeding, and we have a litter of French Bulldogs that I'm watching tentatively right now. Now, during this time, I'm sitting there and I am doing pretty much nothing. I can't move. I got to make sure that I watch them because they're really small. They're very fragile. Got to make sure that they stay nice and healthy. Now, that means that I have a small space in front of me, though, that I can put something, whether it be a computer like this that I can record or a small roll and write game. You know what fits those bills? Fleet the Dice game, Three Sisters, and I've played probably 25, 26 games of them in the last couple of weeks, and wow. I'm still so impressed. I still find myself and have a great time going through, checking off boxes, playing out different strategies, picking different paths. There's so much variation in what seems to be 2 solid sheets full of information and full of fun. I love these systems, and this just looks like a natural progression for the games. You've got new action systems, which I'm always excited to explore. Dozens of plays in, and Fleet the Dice game and Three Sisters still hold up extremely well. Motor City, I hope, is no exception to this rule. So that's Motor City, super excited. Up next is Western Legends, the big box. Now, we're only actually going to be getting just the goodies in this campaign and skipping out on the big box. And I'm going to tell you why. The more and more that I've gone and looked at these different wooden inserts for games, the more and more I've actually really disliked them. A lot of them are organized in order to use space as efficiently as possible and not necessarily to actually get gameplay started well. And after doing a lot of my organizing videos for the channel, I found that a lot of these just are not that good, and it's really frustrating when you get a giant insert like this, you assemble it, you've got it already, you took forever to build the thing, and it just doesn't work as well as the thing that you hobbled together with literally like a piece of plastic and then an insert from the Dollar Tree. So I am not about these wooden inserts at this moment in my life right now. The biggest wake-up call for me was actually the broken token insert for Spirit Island, and I had backed that maybe 2 years ago when the Jagged Earth one came, and as soon as that arrived, I was like, oh, I'm done with these. It made the setup a way harder than the way that I had it already, but I felt like I was wasting it, not using it. I don't know. Now that we're talking about this, I might go see if I can get rid of that insert because there's a lot of issues that I have with it, but there are some good things, so it's got its trade-offs, but I don't think that it's worth it, in my opinion, these wooden inserts. So we're not getting it for the library. It does look really nice, though, if that's something you're interested in, but I'm here for the gameplay content, and that's in the form of these small little promos. So more characters, awesome, and some new items. I'll take it. Sounds like a blast. Up next are the expansions for Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition, one of my favorite games from last year, combining 2 of my favorites, Race of the Galaxy, Terraforming Mars, but does a great job at focusing on the card play. That's my favorite thing about Terraforming Mars are the cards. It has an organization system, which is great because they're just boxes. They don't have to do any assembling. They look like just rows, easy to take cards out. Love it, and it's included a larger box to fit all this stuff, and then it's going to add some things that were great in the original Terraforming Mars. Awards and milestones, awesome, but this is the thing I'm most excited excited for, these are upgraded phase cards. Now, the way that these work is every time you have an opportunity to upgrade one of your cards, you literally choose one of your 5 action cards, and then you have a choice as to how you want to upgrade it. This gives you some great flexibility, and it's something that you're going to continuously reap the benefits from. I love this, and I love this choice. My second most anticipated part of this expansion is the full co-op mode in the Crisis expansion. This has you doing a very backwards way of terraforming Mars, where you're trying to stop the regression of a fully terraformed Mars. I haven't gotten into too much detail of the gameplay of this, and I'm doing that on purpose because I think that this system is so solid in general, and I'm excited to see what they do with it, and I want to explore it for myself. The expansion that I'm actually the least excited for is Ares Expedition Foundations. It reminds me a lot of the Venus Next expansion for the base Terraforming Mars, and we pretty much never play with that in the original game. It adds a new global parameter in the form of infrastructure that has its own way to increase it, and then it's going to introduce new cards that also let you increase it. Now, Venus did the exact same thing, and we basically never use it, so I imagine this will fall in that similar category, but it comes with a bunch of project cards, and probably just going to integrate all those project cards because they sound super fun, and I love just having more and more variety. So more corporations, more project cards, I'm in for basically just that. Up next, we have Tamashii Chronicle of Ascend. This is from Awakened Realms, right? Another GameFound project, and I've really enjoyed what Awakened Realms has been putting out. This is on the lighter end. Obviously, it's from the sister company, Awakened Realms Light, but the biggest draw for this game to me had to do with me actually looking at the components and looking at a hint of gameplay. Once again, I don't like diving too much into the gameplay of these because I do want to understand how they work, but I don't want to kind of spoil the things as I want to discover them for myself. But let's just take a look at this game, and what does it remind you of? You have a storage bag. You have data tokens that go in this bag. You'll be taking those out and putting them on your own personal board and using your class cards and using effects based on where those tokens are on your board. Sounds a lot like Bullet Heart, one of my favorite games ever. I think that this sounds awesome. A story version that has this great universe, a great cyberpunk aesthetic. I'm excited to try it. It sounds really interesting as you're actually choosing the different data tokens that go into your bag, so you have a bit of control there, and it's a cooperative style. Sounds awesome. I'm in, super excited. Tamashii Chronicle of Ascend. And that brings us to the last game, Tidal Blades 2, Rise of the Unfolders. And wow, I'm excited for this one. Has you playing at the continuation of the original Tidal Blades. I really enjoyed that. Worker placement that reminded me a lot of Champions of Midgard with the way you were gathering dice, going to spaces, using those dice to complete tasks and challenges, but you're doing it a bit more frequently, which I quite enjoyed. Now, this one is completely different gameplay, but still retains that world, and it's what happens after those champions become Tidal Blades. They're going to be taking on the Unfolders, these giant creatures in the form of a dungeon crawl style. You have this great campaign book that's actually 2 different books that you put together. I love this idea because it's going to make setup a breeze when it comes to the map and the construction, and the character and action selection system look very interesting. You have this grid of cards that you'll be activating from turn to turn, and the art and the aesthetic is still there in full. The theming is wonderful, and I'm excited to see this story unfold in front of me. So Tidal Blades 2, Rise of the Unfolders, so excited. And that's our March library update. What did you think of all the games that we added to our library? Did you get any of them yourself? Which are you the most excited to play, or are you the most excited to hear us give our comments and opinions on? We'd love to hear what you think, and we're super excited just in general for all of these awesome games. We cannot wait to play more of them. Thank you so much for watching SideGame Strong.